Professional Conference. It's a great privilege to have everyone here today, and I am your host, Miracle, and we have our co-host here, who is Mr. Timmy Lane. And I want to say thank you very much for his support and for doing this together. Thank you so much. And I also want to say thank you. I see that we have some people on YouTube, we have some people on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. Without wasting too much of the time, we're going to go straight to the point. And most importantly, we're waiting for the panel section. So, you're welcome to the West Africa Young Leaders and Professional Conference. And I'm going to share a brief story how this began. I was coming from a place called Ilorin in Nigeria. And then, I don't know, I was on the express and it was by the forest. And I don't know what came to my head, and I thought about something that, Africa would come together. I know I can't make a very big change, but we could make a difference. And the idea of the West Africa Young Leaders came to mind. And the goal was to have young minds. And this is the goal behind this, that we cannot change everybody's ideology or understanding about what leadership truly means. But we could bring together people that would believe have the same ideology and what true leadership should look like and what it should mean. And that's more reason why we have it today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us from the very beginning. And thank you to everyone who has always been joining us. It's a great privilege to have you. And we have people in the studio. So I'm saying very big thank you. Thank you so much for making this possible. Now, we are, and that was how the name came to be, which was West Africa. And about 2 years, and that was in 2021. And 2 years later, I had a young woman. She came to my DM and said, "Hey, hi." I'm like, "Said hi." She said, "Oh, please, is it possible to make this not limit the conference to leaders alone?" And she says, "Oh, we should make it to also other how did she say, professionals." And then that was how we were able to put it as West African Young Leaders and Professional Conference. Now, we do not. This is not limited to West Africa, but why it is called West Africa, it is because this is where we started from. And as time goes on, if we see the need to go further to expand the name, which we believe we're definitely going to get there, we will. But for now, we were beginning where we are, and as we're going to actually get to change some certain narratives in Africa and West Africa as a whole, beginning in West Africa, and that's why it's starting with the West Africa Young Leaders and Professional Conference. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. And I want everyone who's joining today and those who are going to join and those who are going to be watching this today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, a few years to come, that the team behind this basically is to ensure that we're all coming together to understand that as humans, we have challenges that we have to learn to address individually. We have challenges that we have to address individually. And the only way to begin with this is to start holding ourselves accountable. And that's why I believe this team for this year is very critical to this moment. And I want to make reference to certain things that are happening in Africa as a whole today. A lot of things are happening in Africa. And I think it's very important that we it's very important that we start having conversations like this. Now, as you can see in Cameroon, as you can see in other African countries, citizens and leaders are demanding for accountability. And I think that it is very, very important. So we're going to before I proceed, let me just officially welcome our two guests. We have it's always difficult to pronounce the name, but I'm not going to do that. I will let my co-host do that, but I'm going to pronounce the name so my co-host it doesn't get confused. So we have no. This is difficult, but
Try,
no dada.
miracle, try. Yes.
I'm gonna try. So we have uh no dada.
Just say Q.
No
Just say
dada.
Q.
Okay. So we have a speaker from South Africa joining us,
Yes.
and I thought it was very important to have her here because we had a session some months ago, and I think it was very important. And also, let me welcome Mr. Bright Ofobi from Ghana. And I want to say very thank you to Mr. Ofori because I saw some of the initiative he did, and I knew that it was very important to have a leader from Ghana, to speak on this topic. And he's very bent on you know, quality leadership in Africa. Very, and I mean, when you check him out on Instagram, you see the content he has there. So, thank you so much, Mr. Bright. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much. So, without wasting too much of time, we want to make this very quick. We want to make this very powerful. So we don't want to talk too much. We want to go straight to the point. But before we go straight to the point, this is the final words I want to say before the co-host takes over. I know that this begins for those. Some people are going to be watching this today. Some people are going to watch it in the next few years to come. But the
Yeah.
point behind this is that as Africans, we're in a place where it is not just an African thing. I feel that individually humans can be quite very difficult, and we sometimes find it very difficult, especially when we have so much knowledge and so much exposure. We find it difficult to be accountable, and which I believe in Africa today, especially in West Africa, South Africa, where we have leaders that are taking for granted accountability. If that can be put into place, I think a lot of things actually going to be going well, and not just in the political landscape. At the same time, in corporate sectors and other business sectors as well. I truly believe that if we're able to create systems, structure that would help hold ourselves accountable, would go far in our aspiration as a nation and as a continent. So thank you so much for everyone who's joining and those who has joined and those who are going to be joining. And so I'm going to let the co-host take over from here and we begin. Thank you so much. Mr. Timmy, you're on floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Miracle. Yamo, thank you for the opportunity to be here, to be part of this great movement. Like I always said, that this is not just a conference. This is not just people coming together to do something. This is just a movement that is going to influence individual, influence leaders, and in general influence our continent, Africa. So, my greetings to our speaker, Q, and Bright Ofori from Ghana. My greetings to you. And I don't know if you can hear me. You're welcome, Mr. Bright Ofori and Mrs. Q. You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you for this year West African Young Leaders and Professional Conference. And we thank you for what you represent. Thank you for what you've been doing across your nation and across the continent of West Africa. So I'm just going to say that it is a great pleasure to have you here one more time, and would be asking some of the questions. So I believe you're ready to give us the answers to the questions we're going to be asking, and we're going to be making contemplations on some topic and the belief that people have about leadership and being accountable in a whole. So that is that for now. So over to you, Mr. Miracle Yemo.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Timmy. So we're going officially going to be welcoming Mr. Bright, and I would love to read the profile before he joins, but I would want him to do that. But it looks like he's out right now. But let's see. Let's keep few minutes, and then we'll go into. Okay, we're waiting for Mr. Bright. Okay, waiting for Mr. Bright. Let me see. Oh, I think Mr. Bright is having issues with his network actually. Okay, while we wait for him, probably I would just read his profile, but I would have preferred that he he does that himself so that we understand. So, but let me just read that while we wait for him. So, Mr. Bright Ofori is the founder and executive director of the Bright Future Alliance, a youth-led civil society organization with a special focus on Africa. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Administration and Masters of Business Administration from University of Ghana. His role as a youth advocate has been marked by active engagement initiative dedicated to promoting human rights, combating corruption, advancing environmental sustainability, and enhancing governance. His passion for youth development has driven him to collaborate with multilateral organizations, governments, and diplomatic missions worldwide. He's contributed to shaping global discussion and policies through engagement with key institutions, including United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, European Parliament, North-South Centre of the Council of Europe, Ghana's Office of Special Prosecutor, and Ministry of Youth and Sports, and European Union delegation in Ghana, and many more. At the United Nations Regional Office in Kenya, Mr. Bright contributed to developing a roadmap to strengthening the role of non-governmental actors, the young people, academians, the civil society in fight against corruption, which was submitted by the government of the United States of America in December 2023 during the 10th section of the Conference of States Parties to the United Nations Con- Convention Against Corruption. That is Mr. Bright. But unfortunately, we do not have him here. So probably we should let we should let our speaker from South Africa give us a few words. I mean, yeah, just since we have a live, we should just probably hear some few words from her before our session truly begins. Okay, mom, you're welcome.
Hi, guys. Hello, Africa, actually. Hello, Africa. With the knowledge that some people are probably watching right now. And as you said,
Yeah.
Miracle, other people are going to be seeing this well in the future. And I want to convey my thanks, firstly, for leadership, Miracle, and Olu.
Mm.
Allow me to call you Olu for today.
Hmm.
Um, I want to convey, just as we wait for, our Ghanaian speaker, I want to really convey a message of thanks for this platform. Um, the idea of making leadership accessible even through conversation. um, these are important conversations. It's important that we engage, right? Because
Mm.
we are now becoming the adults that we want the accountability from.
Wow.
So these are the conversations that are going to shape the future. These are the conversations that are not only going to shape us, but are going to shape the people who come after us. So I have to really, really, really thank you guys for this moment, for taking and being in the forefront of changing Africa and living in an Africa that we want to see thrive, right? So those are just my words of thanks. I don't want to come in yet because I know that's not in the program, but it was to fill the space for Mr. Bright Ofori to sort of join us back online. I hope you well, sir. The stage is yours. Miracle, you'll just usher him in as you had already started.
Okay, thank you so much, mom. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Bratapori, thank you so much. I want to say a big thank you. I just read your profile, but I want you to briefly introduce yourself and then you're welcome, sir.
Okay, so I'm Bright Ofori, originally a Ghanaian, but passionately an African. I
Yes.
hate being identified as a Ghanaian because I represent Africa more than anything else. Because that passion in everything we do, Africans are united. So I'm happy to join you guys here. I am an executive director of a civil society organization in Africa. I also advise the United Nations and I've recently been appointed by the Office of the President of Ghana to offer some advice. It's appropriate for you guys to choose a particular topic that speaks to my heart as an individual, but also necessary for Africa as a continent. Because this is a time that we need leaders that understand what they are doing, and leaders that are not just in for the time frame or just now. Leaders that look into the future. So I'm happy we've chosen this particular topic, and I'm happy to be part of this wonderful initiative. So if I'm allowed to delve in straight, I'm working on it. I'm away from town working on some projects, so I'm trying to have some bad network, but whatever it is, I'm part of this initiative. So if I'm allowed to start looking at the looking at Africa as a continent, we're a continent of many potentials, a, a continent with the highest number of people, the highest number of country, about 54 countries in the continent. The country with the highest number of young people. In the next 4 years, by 2030, the 60% of the global population will be Africans. And then by would be African youth. And then by African youth, I mean from 15 to 30 years would be the population or the people within. So I mean, with the 60% of the world's population between the ages of 15 and 30 years would be Africans. So it tells us of the potential. It tells us of what the future awaits us as young people and then as a continent. Any continent that has the highest number of young people, it shows the potential of that continent, and it also shows the danger. Because if these leaders fail to do something solid, if these leaders fail to change the narrative and redefine what leadership is to the continent, young people will wake up and then one day strike. So I'm not too surprised to see what's happening in Madagascar recently. I'm not surprised to see what has been happening in Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, and those are not satisfied with the leadership that we have. Young people, Africans in general, are not super satisfied. And then if someone is not satisfied, it also means that the person, those that have led, those that started the mandate, have not been able to change the narrative over. They've not been able to solve the needs of the people. That's what we are seeing some of this. But nevertheless, as a continent, I always do not want to sell the negative or just portray the challenges. We've also had some good successes. If you see the likes of Nkrumah, if you look at in the first Azikiwe of Nigeria, Nkrumah was with Ghana, Azikiwe was with Nigeria. If you also look at Chris Hani, that's the youth in South Africa, a young passionate man who changed the narrative. He didn't live to see the successes or the effort he put in, but Chris Hani did so well for his country. If you look at Patrice Emric Lumumba, if you look at Thomas Sankara, is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly well. I can hear you.
Okay, so if we look at the names that I've just mentioned, from Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, from Patrice Lumumba, from Thomas Sankara, to Chris Hani of South Africa, and many people, they did something solid for our continent. They showed the way, and they led the continent, and they redefined leadership, has been able to achieve what Nkrumah did. But it hasn't been. But recently, Ghanaians also have a new president. In the last 8 months or 9 months in office, this president has been able to change the narrative about leadership. And then currently, Ghana has one of the strongest currencies in the world. Ghana's inflation rate has been one of the best within West Africa. Interest rate and every economic indicator shows Ghana is moving in the right direction. So if you look at the 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 10 years, 5 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 years
Okay, well, sorry that Mr. Bright is actually out of town, so his network is quite very bad, and that's why we're having challenges. But since he will be joining us in a few minutes again, I would want to welcome I mean, Mr. Tommy is someone who's helped me personally. I've known him personally, and I reached out to him on LinkedIn one time. I needed help with a job, and then he just said, "Okay, come to the office." And then I went to the office, and then that was how I was able to meet with him. And I mean, he spoke really so well. We had a section about customer care service and the role he has on the nation, and I think it was very important to have him for this conference as well. So would want Mr. Tommy to just give a few words before Mr. Bright also joins us again. Mr. Tommy, if you would allow us, if you would allow, probably just give a few words and then before Mr. Tommy joins us, before Mr. Bright joins us.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good
Um,
evening,
Um,
sir.
how are we doing? And good evening, Africa. This is me borrowing the cue from. I'm going to make the attempt to pronounce your name. I'll start with the last Nodada. Did I get that
yes.
correct? No harm in trying for the sake. I think the conversation around leadership is this is conversation that has been in existence for as long as I have been in existence, but I had a shift in terms of my ideology around leadership way back, I think 15 years ago, when I was opportuned to participate in a workshop organized by my local church on John C. Maxwell's 360-degree leadership, and it demystified leadership for me, and that has been very focal in terms of how I carry on myself, and also the way I also deal with the people around me. It took leadership away from titles and position. You see, the challenge is a lot of us, or a lot of young Africans, do not assume or do not understand the concept of leadership until they have a title or they're in a position. And so what you see is a lot of bullies and tyrants, not necessarily leaders. And in that session, what I took out of there was the ability to lead from my position. It's called your circle of influence. And I had a mentor who used to say to me then that if you want to clean up an entire street, let everybody come out and clean their front porch. If all of us should clean the front of our yard, we'll end up having a clean street. So sometimes leadership feels like this vague, big word, like, oh, how do I become a leader? What are the traits of a leader and all of those things? But really and truly, it's about you first. It's about your ability to lead yourself, because you are the first asset to yourself. God created you and gave you resource. He gave you time. If you do not coordinate and make use of that time in alignment with your objectives on a day-to-day basis, then you will fail when you get into position, because what you will be doing is basically just ordering people around, telling people what to do, no empathy, and therefore you cannot be accountable because you've not learned how to hold your own self accountable. You've not learned how to put a premium on your use of time. It is as little and as fundamental as that. So before we take leadership on the broader scale, I'd say let's look inwards first as individuals. Are we able to lead ourselves in our own journey through life? Are we able to influence the environment around us, the people around us? Are we able to stay where we are and understand that you can lead upwards, sideways, and downwards, and that you do not need a title or a position to actually be a leader? Thank you. Those will be my few words for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Tommy. So, Mr. Mompont Joshua is meant to join us, but he's in the UK right now. So, he's in the UK right now. I think he had a conference there. So, hoping that he'll be able to join us for a few minutes to just give some few words of exhortation before he goes out. But we would know when he will let me know when if it's possible. It was the first speaker we had when we set up our distinct leadership programs in 2021 May. No, 2020 in May actually was the first speaker we had. So I think it was very important to have him this year as well. So it looks like we're having a challenge with Mr. Bright. So what we're probably going to do is, I feel like the panel section would actually happen in between before we have. So when we have other panelists joining in, and then we would actually um, continue from there. So okay, let me see. Good. So I want to ask a question, and this question goes to two panels that are on right now. In many African workplaces, people take position for power and not service. How do we rebuild leadership that values responsibility over titles?
Mm.
So we're going to let our speaker from South Africa say, and then we're going to let our speaker from Nigeria continue.
Thanks, Miracle. I really love your question because it lends itself to the idea that responsible leadership needs to be something that exists in all leaders in all positions. So it basically speaks to what Mr. Adeyemi was talking about, that leadership can't just be leadership, right? If you're going to lead people in a particular way, you have to be drawing that leadership from somewhere. And that leadership needs to be drawn from the leading of yourself. So when you start to understand that how you treat yourself is how you should treat other people, that is where then mindset starts to shift when we talk about leadership. And one of the most important things when we discuss leadership, especially in an African context, is that leadership, the mindset around leadership needs to change, right? Because as Mr. Adeyemi said, we tend to view leadership as this abstract idea that is not attached to us, something that we cannot execute for ourselves, right? So we start to believe leadership as a position and not as a responsibility and not as a bridge between intention and transformation. We then start to ill treat the people who are supposed to be executing on the transformation that we actually want to see. So, if the question is, how do we execute a leadership that is actually transformational and effective? It is in changing the mindset around leadership itself. It is an understanding leadership to be responsible leadership, a leadership that thinks about its people, a leadership that thinks about the planet, and a leadership that thinks about the profit, right? So if you use the triple P, model, we then can reverse engineer where internally we are supposed to be where leadership is concerned. Because if you are going to, as a leader, not take into consideration that the people that you are working with are actually people that you are working for, because when you're in leadership, you're in service. So if you don't take that into account, you then take risk putting your organization and essentially your country, Africa as a whole, we then risk putting ourselves in a position that doesn't yield any result, that's yielding a negative result, right? We need to shy away from narcissistic leadership. The narcissistic leadership is, I am right, yet when you can see the result is not what you want, it's also not your fault. We need to shift back to responsible leadership, leadership that takes accountability, leadership that says, this result that I'm getting in the workplace, in the organization, in the country, what responsibility did I have to play in how things have played out in this scenario and in this context? And then we can start working towards the self leadership that Mr. Adiemi was talking about. What do I need to change within myself that will allow me to get a positive result to the very end of the degree that I want a result in?
Wow, thank you so much for that, Mr. Diami. So this is going to be very authentic. So, Mr. Diami, what do you think about this? What's your opinion about it?
So, as I was listening to Nodada speak, and she mentioned something that I always find very contentious, which is treating people the way you want to be treated. And I know it's there in the Bible that you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I feel like sometimes um, we, I feel like it's a bit ambiguous. So I always simplify it as extend to others the amount of consideration you will give to yourself in any situation. Because
Mm,
if you realize that we find it very easy to forgive ourselves in any, if we do wrong, it's easy for us to forgive. We understand our own intention, right? It is very easy. Nobody looks bad in their own story, right? You see, if these basic things are not on the table, if we don't own them individually, right, we are just going to be we are just going to be deceiving ourselves at the end of the day. Workplace culture here in Nigeria, one of the things I struggle with a lot of time is the idea of stifling. Because you are a junior colleague, you cannot speak up in the presence of a senior colleague or a boss. And here is where that is coming from. Traditionally, if you go back into our homes, you don't speak where your elder is talking, right? Your parents cannot have an opinion. How dare you have a different opinion? And what has happened is we've had older generation that have perpetrated a lot of wrong and a lot of evil, I dare say, simply because nobody can stand up to them and tell them what you said is wrong, what you're doing is not good enough. This then translates into workplace. What do you think that happens? Where at work you now actually do have a responsibility to be, you have a duty to make decisions, and there is nothing in place functionally to moderate how you deal with every other person. So it's the concept of killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. We look at our workforce, we look at the people we work with, because we feel we are above them, we focus more on their outputs and forget their person. So there is so much emphasis on the hard skills with little or no space for the soft skills. You can tell someone they are wrong without being insultive. You can you can make your argument known without it degenerating into exchange of abusive words and all of that, right? One of the things I always say to my teammates is, listen, there is no boss. The objective is the boss. So we have a philosophy in my business. We call it management by objective. Whatever the objective requires us to do, that is exactly what we do. So I may be CEO, I may be founder, but I am not a boss. Because if that objective requires me to roll up my sleeves and get down on the floor, I'm going to do exactly that. Right? So until we start to redefine some of the beliefs that we've held, first as a people, we just might be paying this entire conversation lip service, because those cultures, those value systems, they find expression in our workplace. And sometimes when you see certain workplaces, they're extremely toxic. And you're wondering, how is anybody supposed to focus on productivity in this type of environment? So I think for me, one, we need to be we need to be considerate. If you show up late and you can tell yourself that, oh, I showed up late because the weather was bad and therefore there was traffic and all of that. The day you decide to show up early and someone else walks in and the person is late and you're asking, why are you late? And the person is saying that same thing. Your first response shouldn't be to, oh, that's an excuse. No, because it could be you. And there is not, it could be you. And you will not want you won't want the counterparty to also respond to you that way. So again, bringing it back to the level of the individual. If we can resolve this at the level of the individual, then we'll be able to proliferate um, leadership in a way and manner that we probably not have even thought of yet. So I will always go back to the individual. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
So I was going to share a story that I shared with Olu today, and okay, but before I share that, I'm going to ask the third question, which I think is very important, and uh, I think this really speaks a lot about what a lot of workplaces actually experience in corporates, the corporate and social sectors actually experiencing. And the question is this: we often talk about corruption in politics, but silent corruption exists within the corporate and social sector as well. You know, how can young professionals, resist these pressures without losing opportunities? And because the truth is this: as much as we sometimes do not really want to engage in politics, but we still find politics within the workplace. And we, us as young people, especially as young people that are trying to find life and then trying to build, trying to use a 9 to 5 to build and start something. How do young people, resist these pressures without losing opportunities? And is it even possible? Okay, so I think
It's
she's gonna answer that already.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that it is incredibly possible. We, when you talk about accountability and leading with accountability, we talk about taking responsibility for the result of which we may not necessarily benefit from. We talk about taking responsibility for the future. And it starts with a sacrifice. It starts with a sacrifice of taking the responsibility of disengaging from things that are setting us back. There is no greater Africa. There is no working Africa. There is no Africa that works together and is coherent if we don't start doing things differently and understanding that doing things differently has a consequence. There are opportunities that we are going to lose, but leading with accountability means that we are creating new opportunities for ourselves and we are not waiting to be given those opportunities. And the only way we override this is by creating communities across Africa, finding new ways to engage with each other economically, finding new ways of allowing each other to thrive in each other's countries, right? It's all about creating opportunities such that from community, right? We are creating opportunities from communities that we create to give us our own opportunities. The issue with many young Africans, dare I say, is that we wait for the government to rescue us. What I see when I come across the world, when I engage with the world, is that money is all around us. There are many ways to make money, devoid of government grants, devoid of government institutions. We have to start proving that we can do it on our own first, so that it is not a big deal if I don't get a particular opportunity because I didn't take a brown envelope or I did not offer a brown envelope. We have to start operating with the mindset of complete abundance. If we are the same people who say that Africa is growing, Africa is rich in resources, Africa is rich in young people, it's rich in creativity, it's rich in tech geniuses, it's rich in confidence. That can't all only be encapsulated within a government sector that we need to go and beg for money from. We need to understand from a abundance mindset. It's got a lot to do with how we think about things. We have to stop operating from a scarcity mindset. Remember, the government's job is to make sure that holistically the country has healthcare, has education, has roads, and those are just the basics, and it has to think about everyone. So now, if we individually want to interact with the government on from a position of lack and a position of being the primary beneficiaries of whatever funds there are, it's going to be very difficult because even within the political scene, there's already a lot of corruption. There's already a lot of, things going on. Yet, where business is concerned, we're becoming better in business. We're creating communities and community hubs, not only in South Africa, guys, across Africa. What communities exist in Africa that allow an interchangeable connection of, exchange rather, of goods and services, right? We have to start building opportunities for ourselves so that anything the government comes with is an added bonus, it's an extra. So that's me.
Mr. Tommy, but before Mr. Tommy speaks, I heard something, and one thing I took from what you said is we actually, I mean, paraphrasing it based on how I interpreted it, we have a choice. We all have a choice.
Yes.
Now, I feel like the spirit and the atmosphere in South Africa is way different from the spirit and the atmosphere in Nigeria. So
Okay.
before with that, I'm going to let Mr. Tommy speak on that, and then we'll then address that from different nations. Mr. Tommy.
So, thank you. Corruption is also one of those big buzzwords in Nigeria, right? Every problem in Nigeria is corruption. That's what we call everything. Everything. When you see a bad road, they say corruption. Everything is corruption. And again, The problem with buzzwords is that sometimes it deprives us of the opportunity to do deeper analysis and understand at the granular level what it is we need to place our hand on and what we need to do. So, I am presently a victim of corruption or the narration of corruption. And let me explain this. I had a project that I ran with the state, and there was a change in leadership on the state side. When the new guys came in, because of the amount of freedom that we had, because it was a technology driven project and the state counterpart had no knowledge about technology, they could not believe that things were done transparently. So I am being accused of being corrupt when it didn't even occur to me. I mean, these guys did audits like 5 different times and all of that. Up to today, they didn't share any of the reports with me. Nothing. They just make their blank or bland accusation, and it's just a sticker on my shoulder anywhere I go within those circles, right? Now, let me tell you what's worse off. People on the outside, my friends, my colleagues, and everybody, by reasoning of, by virtue of how we are wired as a people, they also don't think that I will have that type of access and I am not mismanaging or misappropriating. And I'm there like, your accusation is a reflection of who you are, not me. But either you like it or not, that is my reality as we speak. I have to mentally cross the barrier of people thinking that I'm doing bad or I'm doing wrong. Why? Because if they were in that same position, that is exactly what they will do.
They
Do you
would
know
have
how
done.
inundating that can be? You are being punished for stuff you've not even done yet, right? So I feel like corruption is not even the big thing. It's not so Miracle just said to us how we met. He sent me a message on LinkedIn, and I'm like, yeah, walking. Now, let us adjust this a bit. What if Miracle had met me in a coffee shop and he paid for my coffee before asking me for job opportunity? Of course, he paid for my coffee. Who does not like free coffee? I mean, but by virtue of the fact that he had paid for my coffee and is now asking me afterwards for a job offer, don't you think I'm more favorably disposed to giving him a chance over someone I have not just met or just a CV on my table?
Mm.
It is basic human nature. But yet, isn't that what we call bribery in certain parlance? So I feel like sometimes because we refuse to learn the art of dealing in business um, and carrying on stakeholder management, we just call everything, we just brand everything corruption.
Mm.
So here was the lesson I learned from my experience. While I was focused on trying to get the job done and ensuring that things work, I forgot that the stakeholders, what the stakeholders were looking out for was not getting the job done. What they were looking out for was returns that will come to them. So, what do I do now? Anytime I have a project that is important and has huge significance, I build into my model a return. Because if I fail to do that, I lose the project, I get brandished a corrupt person. It's a lose lose scenario, right? And that is the reality here in Nigeria. everybody believes the next person is corrupt, right? But what I always say is the moment you collect a dime from a client, you are 100% obliged to fulfill your obligation to that person. So if myself and Miracle should go into a transaction, if Miracle says his fees for this service is 20 million naira, if I bargain with him and we agree to 5 million naira, we've moved from 20 all the way down to 5, right? So much difference between the initial ask and the final offer. The moment he agrees, I expect that he gives me the full value of what I've paid for. Not for him to turn around and say, oh no, it was supposed to be 20 million, but because I now agreed to 5 million, that is why I'm not going to do this. I'm not. That is where the corruption starts. Because if you do not know how to negotiate and negotiate in an objective manner,
Mm.
right? If you don't know how to place all the cards on the table and communicate the intricacies of the things that you are going through, people have the tendency to misappropriate what they don't understand. Back to my issue, right? We were spending a lot of money on technology, paying Google, and we had a the foreign exchange market crashed in Nigeria. When we started that transaction, a dollar was about 400 naira. By the time we were exiting, a dollar was about 1,700 naira. Yet my price point could not change, which meant we were running at a huge loss. But guess what? On the outside, nobody was thinking about that. Why? Number one, it is not their space. They don't know what happens there. Number two, I also did not do the extra work of trying to put it in everybody's face that this is what is going on, this is what is going on. So I was just there managing everything. What was the outcome? I'm corrupt. So it's a it's a very it's one of those tricky things where you're trying to draw the line between morality and doing what you need to do to move forward, right? Um, I try as much as possible um, to be careful around moral ethics because what is good in a particular context, the same action might be bad in another context. So I try as much as possible to
I feel like in West Africa, we always have issues with our network. Actually, in West Africa, we always have issues with our network.
Hmm. And I want to ask something from Mr. Tsumi. I don't know if he's back on the line. I just wanted to ask a
It's not
question.
back yet, actually.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll extend the question to Q then.
Sure.
Is in regards to what Mr. Tsumi said while he was speaking earlier, so I didn't want
Mm.
to cut his conversation. So he made mention of the culture in we practice in Africa. So I want to ask, do you think most African cultures and practices affect the quality of their leadership? Yeah, that's the question.
So I think that this is a conversation about context. I think for the most part, we have to sort of try and understand what leadership is in an African context. And I want to almost shy away from thinking about African leadership in a Western context, because then it brands us in a particular way, right? If you look at how the elders, the African elders, did things within the African context. I'm talking now devoid of any Western principles. Like, go back to our villages, go back to our foundations, right? How was leadership there? And you find that within the African context, leadership is actually something that is incredibly robust. Great leadership is robust. It's in the way things are done, it's in the structures that are within our communities. I'm talking now foundationally when you go back to the village, right? The issue then comes back to how we engage with leadership as Africans in a Western context, right? Because I believe that the structures are so different. So it's almost as if like we're coming into this new thing and we have to acclimatize ourselves to how it works and how it should be carried out. That's why I have so much grace for African leadership, because I think that we are still very young in terms of our governance. We're still quite young, whether you're speaking about Nigeria, whether you're speaking about Ghana, or even South Africa. So we sort of have to learn these new structures of leadership and how leadership is to be executed, together with coming into something we did not necessarily have abundance of, which is money, economics, right? Those are two traumas, dare I say, that we need to juggle across and within. So we're still trying to find our feet as to what is good leadership. We still have to answer the question about what is good leadership in an African context devoid of a Western influence. What should it look like to us, right? Because you're coming into a space where you need to lead in a particular way. Also, you have now come in to this humongous amount of money, and you have to manage economics, things that we didn't necessarily know how to do before. So then it speaks to a matter of acclimatizing to what actually effective leadership is within a new environment, right? It's a process of refining from my view. It's a process of refining, and that's why I think that these conversations are important. And Mr. Adiemi brings such a brilliant, honest, raw account of what context looks like, right? I've also got my own stories where I decided not to engage in this, right? We all come across it, right? But you sort of have to tether the balance of opportunity versus moral ethics. And it's such an important discussion to get into when we talk about how are we going to lead ourselves into a future where we see more opportunity and more preservation of our morals as Africans. So to answer your question.
Thank you.
Wow. So
That's
Mr.
a very
Demi is
profound.
back.
Okay.
That's actually, I think this is really getting really interesting because Mrs. Nova that just made some real powerful points, and then Mr. Ademi is also going somewhere. So we're going to let Mr. Ademi finish, and then we're going to now go to the next session, which the calls will take over from. Thank you. You're welcome, Mr. Ademi. Sorry about the network. Yeah, you.
I think you're
We can't hear
muted,
you.
to me.
Oh,
Let me go
oh
back.
yeah, he's muted. Yeah, good. We still can't hear you. Probably you'd have to go in and come in again. Probably may have to just log out and then log in. Maybe that way you'll be able to like come better. I think this conversation is getting interesting. And we're going to the hard
Mm,
part, the main part of the conversation, really. I mean, I'm liking this already. So while we're waiting for Mr. Adeyemi,
yeah.
I wanted you to talk about this. I mean, from your point of view, and then from the inward part of you. You made mention of we having choice, and I think it's a very important topic. And for me, I feel like it's very important for me. Very important for me. This topic is really important for me because I just know that this would really lead to a lot of great establishments and great enterprises, especially in Africa as a whole. And young people have to understand that. So, do young people truly have a choice? And is it is the choice making a choice that doesn't probably serve them the opportunity? Is it worth standing for? And if it's worth standing for, why should young people really like stand for it? I mean, because sometimes the truth is, a lot of young people are telling me. I mean, I speak to a lot of young people that tell me that, oh, it's not going to make any difference. So why do it? And they do not really have enough reason to say that this is worth standing for. And so the question is, do
Mm.
you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth standing for something that you're going to compromise on, but you're going to still get the opportunity? But if you decide not to compromise, you're going to lose the opportunity.
I think it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth standing for, and I'll tell you why. Most often, how you get an opportunity is incredibly important to the future of that opportunity, because 1 million naira could easily turn into 20 million naira, right, in the next year. And then it becomes this big gaping hole that one can't come out of. Okay. So my idea around this, and it speaks to what Tommy talked about, it is in understanding the environment that you are operating in. When you are a business owner, when you are in business, you have to understand the rules and regulations and principalities and underlying messages of that environment. And I'll give you an example. When other people start businesses and hire their family members, it's called a family business. When Africans start a business and hire family members, it's called nepotism. So, understanding the art of networking, understand young people need to understand the art of networking, and it speaks to what Tumi was talking about, that there is value to be brought into spaces by young people, right, to gain them opportunities without it being a moral issue, with it being solely based on the fact that, oh, I know Miracle does this. I think we can actually get him to do this business for us. These things happen behind the scenes, right? But they only happen in spaces where value has been exchanged, right? Whether through knowledge, whether through giving mutual connection. We have to start understanding the environment that we are operating in, rather than not contributing anything. And then when we want to engage and we don't get things our way, it becomes a matter of I am not being considered, I am not being given a chance, corruption, A, B, and C, right? I think it's got a lot to do with the choices that you make within the context you are existing in. Because a normal existence in your normal life is different to the existence within the business sphere. So we have to start understanding, how does the game actually work, right? For instance, I have business partnerships, or not even partnerships, business associations. That is how a network works, right? If all four of us here engage with each other in terms of the businesses that we do, if I know that Miracle sells a particular product and can help me with it, or Lou sells a particular, you guys are my go-to people for the products that I need, right? That's a that's the science of networking. I don't need to put it to four quotations before I choose a service provider. It's because I've got my people already. So it just really speaks to having a choice in engaging in the environment in a different way than you would in a normal environment.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Mr. Tommy is here. Mr. Tommy, you're welcome back.
Thank you, thank you. So, just to conclude what I was speaking on, I was trying to strike the balance between moral ethics and having to do what you need to do. And I love what Nodada has just said, right? If you do not understand the context of your business environment, you are going to make a lot of mistakes. And you are going to find out in a that good intentions sometimes do pave the way to hell, right? And just like we said in the beginning, you are the only one that know your intentions. The
Mm,
counterpart does not know what your intentions are. So whatever perception they have of your actions, either correctly or wrongly, that becomes their view of you, and it may remain an irreparable damage to your reputation or in your favor, depending on how it rubs off on them. I like that she mentioned nepotism. One of the things I find very odd in the newspapers is when they start talking about political appointees and all of those things. I'm like, if I was president and I needed to run a leadership network program, I'm going to call Miracle because he's doing it and I know him. And because we have a relationship, I know that he's obliged to ensure that I don't look bad.
mm,
Why would I leave what I know, who I know, someone I can control and have influence on, and then go and place a bet with a stranger? Now, there is the place of demonstrated capacity. So if a stranger shows up, someone I do not know, and can convince us at the table right there and there that he or she has better capacity, then by all means, let that person win. Like I always say to my guys, performance is the only thing that should discriminate. Not sex, not gender, not your tribe, not your tongue. Performance is the only thing that should discriminate. If you look at the order with which um, creation was done in the Bible, when God was giving out the instructions to man, there is no place where God said to man that a man can be better than another man. In the hierarchy of things, all men, either male or female, are required to subdue the earth, make it productive, be fruitful, and multiply. There is no place in that narration where it says somebody should be better than one other person. But of course, because we demonstrate capacity differently, the differentials in our capacity should make preference for one person above the other. It should make it normal. It shouldn't be anything you are upset about. You cannot compare yourself, someone that wakes up in the morning to jog for 2 hours in preparation for a sprint or a marathon, and you that wake up in the morning and you only jog for 5 minutes. You can't expect the both of you to have the same outcome. We like to stay with talent, and we forget that talent is the weakest form of capacity. You need you need to brush up your skills, you need discipline, and all of those things are the things that create the differential. But you see what we do once an appointment is made and we can establish a connection between the parties involved, we go straight into nepotism. Why? Simply because we were not the ones that were chosen. That's just a simple truth. Because if you were the one that was chosen, you will not open your mouth and say it was nepotism. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to let the co-host take over from here. And before I let the co-host take over with the next questions, so we're going to welcome Miss Oguntayo to Lulokwe. She's just joining us. Miss Oguntayo, you're welcome, ma'am. Okay, so let's few minutes. Miss Oguntayo, are you there? Okay. Miss Oguntayo, are you there? Okay. Okay, so good. Okay, so we're just going to wait for her to join when she is. So I'm going to let the co-host start. I'm just going to read the question. The co-host takes over from here. And the question is, entrepreneurs often start well, but lose focus when money or attention grows. How can leaders protect their value as their influence increases? So the question is open to our panels. Entrepreneurs often start well but lose focus when money or attention grows. How can leaders protect their values as their influence grows? Especially, I think it's a global issue, but especially in the context of Africa. We're going to let them say
So let
two
me take
minutes,
a go
maybe.
at that, right? Um, One of the things we also have a wrong view of is the idea of work and productivity. You see, money is not the motive to work. Money is the reward you get for working.
Mm-hmm.
So if your reward is capable of derailing you, then there is a problem. It means really and truly, maybe your motives were very incorrect. I dare say, listen, I've been in this entrepreneurship journey for almost, close to 15 years. And I can understand when they say people who are truly successful are very humble people, because entrepreneurship will humble you. Because there are days where you know that despite your best attempt, despite your best success, you know that this outcome you are looking at, the hand of God was there. there was a random phone call that just came in and changed everything, right? Or you randomly just bumped into this person that you were not even planning to go out that day, but something just pushed you out and you are there, and then you randomly just said hello to this person and you got talking, and boom, that was the key to unlock your blessings or your miracle, right? So anytime you see people get derailed, and it is very easy to get carried away by the attention, most especially in this age of projecting yourself, right? And the Bible did say, if you show me a man that is diligent in his work, he will stand before kings, right? So, what people are trying to do these days is stand before kings without diligence with work. So everybody is hyped about building brand equity, exposure. We are in the age of numbers. Quantity is everything. The traffic, the traction, how many people saw this. If we post a picture, you're looking to check the number of people that liked it because it's an indication of how well you are liked and all of these things have distorted how or the things we should be focusing on. People are no longer putting in the work they need to put in behind the scenes. Because the simple truth is I don't see how you are going to be able to combine the two. If you are doing serious hard work behind the scenes and you are still able, except maybe you have a team that is basically documenting and projecting everything that you are doing. Serious hard work, the little time you have is for you to rest and start the serious hard work again. So I think that, and I'm not saying you should not project yourself. There is the place for it. There is the place for telling your story. But where fraud is when expectations no longer meet, when what you've projected, by the time we then interact with you, the value no longer meets the expectation that you've created. Now that is fraud. Now that is corruption. You've put yourself out there as this person that is the most something, something, something. You've put yourself out there as the person that is so successful because everywhere you go, you take pictures, you this, you that. Whereas, really and truly, you are just a bedroom CEO. There is really, really nothing you have going on. Where we interact with you, there is really, really nothing, right? Classic case of power, there's noise. So this has tossed if you do not understand that you must again the fact that you must identify what you are doing and let that move. If you don't, you must motivate the entire course of your journey as a business person, even after you've attained success. If you let go of that motive, chances are high you will derail. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow. That's a really, really, really profound thing you said there. That's really profound thing you said there. So people tend to market themselves without having the quality of what they are projecting. That's that's really
Sure.
profound. So that leads to the next question. Do you want to
So
say something
before
before
the
we
next
close?
question, Olu,
Okay,
before the next
We
question,
should let Miss No Dada say something. I think she has a lot to
okay,
say. That
I,
okay,
I,
okay.
I, I absolutely, absolutely love the question because the core and the focus on my work is about entrepreneurs, right? And how to be better in business. And the bulk and the foundation of the work is centered around how to keep businesses sustainable through putting in practices for business sustainability. How do we become better in business? And I find that what a lot of young business people across Africa do not practice is beginning with the end in mind, right? So when I take my mentors through this, it's trying to understand ukuthi, what do you want, Miracle? I see you want to start the business. I see this is what you want to do. But what is the end goal? What is the final destination of all of this? Right? When you look at your life at the very end, where are you? Where are you living? What have you accomplished? Do you have children? Are you married? Do you have properties? What businesses have you done? What which brands have you worked with? What have you done in your life at the very end that makes you want to start at this particular point?
Mm,
Then we begin to reverse engineer how it is that you are going to get to your endpoint. And your question is very important because it speaks to a person who has not engaged themselves at their highest level. So, science, or rather literature, gives us Maslow's work, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where he talks about
yeah,
I'm sure we're all familiar with the
basic,
model, right?
yeah,
Where he
just
talks about our
the
baseline
basic
need
needs,
being security, being safety, economics, those
variety,
very basic
yeah,
things, right? So if you are only just stuck there, if your beginning point is there, you can start a business, that's fine, you are going to get clients, but once you get the money, what are you going to do? You are going to derail
mm,
because you have not engaged the apex of the model. You have not engaged what the purpose of the whole idea around why it is that I'm here. So entrepreneurs derail because they are going in blind. Entrepreneurs derail because they are not centered, they are not anchored in a particular direction. They do not know where end is. Because when you know why you are doing something, right, it is not easy to derail from it. When you know why or where it is that you are going, you won't be derailed very, very easily. It's like how Mr. Adeyemi is talking about, you know, once you find the attention, I often look at people who are wanting to be on social media and the kind of engagement that we have with social media. Everyone wants to be viral. It's about being viral. But what are you going to do with the virality when it
that's
arrives?
it,
Everything has to be about strategy.
purpose,
Every single point of your life has to be about strategy. Because if you
mm,
don't engage strategy, then you offer yourself to failure in the terms of being derailed when money comes, when status comes, right? So I think for me, it's about really starting with why, starting with the end goal in
mm,
mind, always. You start with the end because that's the only way you are going to use those funds. When you start to hit, remember they say in business you need to put in your 10,000 hours. I equate that to 10 years. You have to be going for at least 10 years so you can see what it is that you're doing. And once you reach year 9 and year 10, you start to cruise all of a sudden. All of a sudden, things start making sense. But you have to be strategic in how you are going to use your new economic standing to get to your why. So that was my piece.
wow, that's really, that's really
So
insightful. Thank
Mr.
you.
Mr. Olu, we should introduce Miss Oguntayo again.
Oh, okay. Is she with us now?
Yeah, she's with us now.
Um, oh, okay. Good
Can you
evening,
hear me?
Miss Oguntayo. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, oh,
It's
okay.
a
I've
pleasure to
actually
have you
been
on
with
here.
you. Yeah, I've actually been with you. I don't know what was wrong with my mic at the first instance. So, but I'm glad you
Hmm.
can hear me now.
Yes, we can, and you're welcome. We are having the panel section as Mr. Miracle said, we have problems with networks in West African, so we can understand the situation. So we're having the panel section, and you can go with this before the other panelists that has been speaking before say something about it. So my question is this: social accountability is becoming stronger than institutional control. How can African leaders respond constructively to public criticism instead of silencing it?
Can you hear
I
me?
don't know if yes, I can. Do you get the question, or do you want me to go
Yeah,
again?
yes, please go again.
Okay. Social accountability is becoming stronger than institutional control. How can African leaders respond constructively to public criticism instead of silencing it?
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. So I want to say a big thank you to the organizers of this program. I think it's an amazing one because we are talking about Africa, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about entrepreneurship, and these are basic things that young people need to learn from, and even ourselves as people who are already into the system, we need to also share our experiences with other people. So yes, you're actually on point when you say social accountability is now the order of the day. I mean, we are in the era of social media now, and most of the things that used to be hidden are now being exposed. um, Young citizens of different countries in Africa are starting to hold leaders accountable. We are starting to recognize that silence cannot really do much. And so, if you see something really now, you have to say it. But I want to make a good example of what happened in Nigeria, for instance, during the NSAS protest. We saw how majorly the way the Nigerian government responded to that situation, because they really saw that the youth were very agitated. They saw that the youth were not comfortable with everything that was going on in the country. And I was part of them too, right? We all used social media to protest. Some people were on the streets, and the response from the Nigerian government was very, very bad, was very terrible. I mean, people lost their lives because they were demanding for a better system. They were demanding for a better life. They were demanding for something that would touch our generation and even generation to come. However, the Nigerian government didn't respond well. And we could see that after then, there are so many cases of protests that could have happened, but has not happened because there is this constant fear in people. They don't want the repetition of what happened in 2020 to repeat itself. So I think the first thing I would say for anybody who is, because I even have friends, I have senior colleagues.
We can hear you, Miss Oguntayo. We can hear you, ma.
So I
Miss
think she's
Oguntayo, we
she's
can.
out. I think
Oh,
she's out. She
okay.
probably will join later actually. So we have a news from Mr. Kunle. Mr. Kunle just had an emergency right now, so he won't be able to join. So it looks like we're going to be ending the session shortly as well too. We're going to end this section shortly as well. But the most important thing is that we're able to execute something today. And that's what we're going to be doing. today. So, Miss
Yeah.
Tolu, we're going to go on with our panels while we wait for Miss Oguntayo to join us, and then we're going to be rounding up soon. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if Mr. Tumi has something to say in regards to the question asked, or Miss
Okay.
Mrs. Nodada.
So, social accountability and listen, the institutions have failed. That's just the simple truth. But the institution did not just fail by themselves. Question one: who makes up the institution? You and I, when we get the opportunity for power. So the institution did not fail at the location of the institution. The institution failed or started failing from our homes, from our churches, from our communities, from our inability to, first of all, educate ourselves. Um, the last speaker, Ms. Okuntana, brought up NSAS. NSAS is always a very touchy conversation.
Mm.
And I have a different perspective. And I hope I don't get crucified, right? But follow my train of thoughts, right? Prior to NSAS, and I dare say even up to now, a lot of people do not know that in Nigeria, the governor of a state is not in the security architecture. So the governor of a state cannot issue an instruction to the police or the military or the navy
Law.
or to any of the law enforcement agencies. That is number one. Good. Number two, when we were in the middle of that agitation, right? When it was completely virtual, that was the best time we had to make the point. Did we realize the several attempts made by government out to the conveners who are the voices or who is leading a cause without leadership? It's just a bunch of headless people running up and down. Nobody wanted to step out to say, so who is the government supposed to engage with? Then we decided to take it offline and congregate in a location where we understand how things work. You congregate in Lagos, a state where you know the number of miscreants, thugs, and the number of elements that you cannot account for, right? So when people say the Nigerian police or the Nigerian military was given an order to shoot at people during that protest, I always ask them, I always ask a question. I said, why are we protesting in the first place? We are protesting because of brutality and high-handedness of police, isn't it? Did anybody give any instruction to the police to be brutal and high-handed? No. By default, the way Nigerian police is set up is that they are brutal and they are high-handed. They do this when you have not done anything wrong as a citizen. It's like in America where white police officers profile black citizen. You don't need to do anything wrong. As long as you are black, you trigger something, whatever that is, That is their bias. Now, on this particular day, a curfew had been issued. People were told to leave and vacate that location. Why? Because prior to that day, we've been seeing pockets of violence erupting. I mean, prior to that day, about two police stations had been run down already. I remember the one in Butemeta. So, the same Nigerian police that you are protesting because they are brutal to you when you didn't do anything. You really do think that they need an instruction from somebody to open fire when you are now actually on the wrong. But because we wanted a construct that says the government did it, we missed out on the points. We missed out on the learnings. We missed out on the opportunity to have our voice to make a change. And that is why it looks like our politicians are tone deaf. It is that when they hear all the things that we are saying, they know for a fact that we don't even know what we are talking about.
I think his network has gone.
Yeah, I think his network is gone. So we're going to be rounding up at 9 p.m. We're going to round up at 9 p.m. So we're waiting for Miss Ogun Tayo to join us. And then we're going to ask our last speakers a question. Each person going to give the advice, last advice, before we're going to round up. Okay. So we're going to wait for Mr. Tommy to join us again. And for everyone who's listening right now, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for joining. We're very sorry that Mr. Joshua Momponga won't be able to join us because he's currently in the UK and he had an impromptu engagement. And then Mr. Kule also had an emergency. But we trust in that one day we're probably going to have a physical meeting and we're going to have everyone together. And one day we're going to have someone together. We're going to have ourselves together one day, just one day. So, okay, so we have Miss Non No Dada. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So we're rounding up shortly, but before we round up, I want to ask you a question, and we're going to ask every panelist a question. I'm going to leave the
Sure.
floor to you in few words. In few words. In few words. What advice? What last word would you want to leave to everyone who's watching this and those who are going to watch this, based on your experience and based on the topic, which is about being accountable and your passion for business and for passion to seeing business grow and become better in Africa as a whole.
Mm. So, my last words here tonight, and I'm going to be quite brief, but taking accountability for ourselves as Africans is something that we need to embrace with both hands. It is now time for us to stop waiting for handouts. It is now time for us to stop waiting to be rescued. It is time for us to understand the power that we have in creating community with each other. We have to start interrogating with deep critical thought what we know about each other from whatever source we get our information from. We have to start building from a positive standpoint where we are concerned because we need an Africa that not only works, but an Africa that works together. And taking responsibility is about knowing that we might not see that change today, but we might see it when we are gray and old, Miracle. We might not even see it at all, but it has to begin with intentional work of changing how we interact as Africans, of changing how the opportunities come to us as Africans. We must, by any means necessary, move from where we are and touch each other's soils in order to make a difference. I see myself in Nigeria in the coming future. I see you guys in South Africa in the coming future, because it can't only exist on a virtual platform. There are things that you are going to find here that are going to completely shift how you have viewed, how you have thought about Africa, what your perceptions have been, and what your mindsets have been. So, my engagement with Africa as a whole, and I'm so happy to have had this conversation, because it gave me a particular mindset around context, right? It gave me such deep insights into what exactly is happening in Nigeria, what is exactly is happening in West Africa, and how can we further engage to find solutions from each other. But the baseline of my final words is that we are actually the solution that we are looking for. We are our own solution. And we start that by creating a network of intentional opportunities, intentional communication, and intentional, traveling to and from each other's lands to understand each other, to grow each other.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I strongly believe in this. And I'm so happy that we had you in the section because the team took 2 weeks. It took the business aspect and being accountable in such a way that we should not be myopic and not narrow our minds to seeing things in one way, and but open our minds to other areas as well too. So we're going to ask Mr. Tommy, once this like when does this come from within you? We're rounding up very soon. I want to give in few words. What's your last words and last advice you would give based on who you are, based on the team, and based on the fact that you're a founder of a technology company? What advice can you give to young people who are watching this and those who are going to watch this in the nearest future, tomorrow, next month, next year? Oh, it just went out. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. It looks like as if today's network is really bad. Really bad. But I want to say big
Yeah,
thank
he'll
you.
connect back
And
up.
I want to say big thank you, Miss Dada. I want to say big thank you for making this possible and for being passionate about Africa. Being passionate about Africa. And I know people are going to be watching this, and I want them to be inspired that we have people like you in Africa that are going all out and not just you know waiting for things to happen, but making it actually happen. And so
Yeah.
your last words are not just last words, but I believe that this is going to be referenced. And so if there's an opportunity that you can give to people right now, if there's an action point, an action word you want to give to someone right now, what would that be for those who are living here right now?
If there was a, say again, please.
And so
Yeah.
if there's an action point, something you want to tell people to do beginning
Mm-hmm.
today, what
Mm-hmm.
would you want them to, what would you tell them?
I would tell an African to start the business. Start the business. That is my first and very important action point. Start the business and get to know yourself, because this is a journey where you get to understand who who is Miracle, right? What is it that sets me apart? We often don't think about our businesses being places where opportunities are created. We often don't think about our businesses being the entities that uplift our very societies, right? If your environment or community didn't have a particular service and now it has that service because of you. That is a big accomplishment. So we have to start engaging with the idea of business and the impact that it has at the very base level as something that is positive. So, my action point for any African looking at this right now is to start the business and just make sure that you are documenting the process. Let us in on the journey.
Oh, thank you so much, Mom. Thank you. Mr. Tommy, oh, why does he keep going when I'm about to ask him the question? Why does he keep going when I'm about asking him the question? So, we're going to give a few minutes, give Mr. Tommy an opportunity to come. So, we're going to be going out. We're going to be taking the West Africa Young Leaders Conference. We're going to be having like a public discourse. We're going to choose in a public place. We're going to ask people's opinion about business, being accountable, and leadership. And we're going
Mhm.
to post it on our social media platform. And then, so if there are ways that people that we believe that could probably be helped remotely, and some of our speakers could as well probably reach out, and then there's a way we'll probably help them from that. So
I'm
just wanted to let
actually
this out for
interested.
those who are listening.
Definitely. I'm
Okay.
actually interested, Miracle, in what your learnings have been in this session, just roughly as we wait for Tommy. What your learnings have been, what the key foundational learnings have been for both you, Miracle, and you, Olu, because it's so important to me to to engage on that part, to know that there has been impact that has been left here just by knowing that, okay, this is actually what has been learned by us, the leaders of the platform. And hopefully, the people watching and the
Mm.
who are going to watch in the future can actually also add on to those learnings as they watch and as they engage.
Wow. Wow. So I'm going to go first, and I'll let my co-host go next. One one thing that I took was from Ms. No Dada, which was we have a choice, actually. And why that resonated with me was because I've been in situations where I could have compromised, but I was faced with the fact that I had a choice, and the choices I could either compromise or stand by what I believe was the right thing. And if I was going to stand for what I believe is the right thing, I would have to trust that I have something within me that could make myself more resourceful to stand on my own, not really depending
Mm,
on someone else.
yeah.
Because in that case, being compromised becomes very high. I'm at the eye stick of compromising, especially when I do not look within myself. And that was like a very major point I took from this section. I mean, my mindset was towards a certain direction, and then you change the course of the direction. And I saw it in different lights. So I want to say thank you. And that was what I was able to get from that. So before we let the co-host speak, we're going to let Mrs. Tommy give his final words, and then we're going to let our co-host round up after it's done.
I think I think it's important that we have more conversations like this across board. Um, I would like to have deeper engagement with Nodada. And please, before we go, you must please pronounce your first name so we know that,
Of
right?
course.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that we miss out a lot when we stay in our own bubbles and little silos and just think that the world revolve around just us and our perspectives and just our context. There is an entire world out there. But more importantly, I think we should not be afraid of exercising our rights to change our minds. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that hold us back is the the temptation to want to align with social scripts, and it is understandable because we want validation. We don't want to be the odd one out. But guess what? Change does not happen by conformity. Change happens because
Yes,
someone decided
yes.
to conform, right?
Yeah.
So the very thing we need as ingredients to take us to where we are going is the very thing we fight, right? So if we are not comfortable enough to hold a different perspective and have a different view and look for ways to share our opinion and share our view without being disrespectful or without making the other person's point of view less important, then
Mm-hmm.
we are not yet ready, right? And my personal commitment to myself and my space is, listen, this is my table, it's my rules, this is my word, every other person is a guest, so things will have to be done based on the value systems that I am
Yeah.
trying to um inculcate and propagate around my own life, right? So it's sometimes it is tough because you are literally like the odd one out at every point in time, and you are just there looking at yourself like, who sent you? But if all men were satisfied from the beginning of time, we will not have something called history. Because for you to have history, it means there is change. There is something called something happened and then became the past. It is anti-nature for all of us to have the same perspective, for all of us to be satisfied at the same time. That thirst, that differential is needed to drive change. And it is in that we can experience development and growth as a people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tommy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to let our co-hosts share a lesson is taken up from this session, and then we're going to call it a hand. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr.
Um,
Olu.
thank you, Mr. Miracle, and thank you, Mr. Tumi, for the wonderful idea and thoughts you shared to us tonight. It is really profound and insightful. Thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure
You're welcome.
meeting with you. So me before Miss Nodada left the call, I think she's still going to join us back if time permits. She asked a question that what do we learn? I and Mr. Miracle, what do we gain from this conversation, this contemplation that we've been having for the past hours? That what is our take home to share it in the public so that other people that are going to be watching or that are watching it now are going to, have the value of it again. So I learned from you because I will start from you because Miss Nadada is not here now. So I learned that having resources and having value as a person before striving for the publicity and the social accolades, having yourself being valuable. So when you project yourself, you've done a lot of things to gain the visibility that you've been wanting, you've been craving for. That whenever you now get it now, what is that effect of that publicity doing on you? Do you have a value to to defend the thing you've projected to the public? So it dawns on me that most of the time we need to build capacity first. We need to build capacity first before wanting public approval or wanting public visibility. And the second thing is you solidify the idea of excellence. So I think it was a question that was asked about nepotism. You said if you known Mr. Miracle and then there is a contract that was given to you, and then you ordinarily reach out to Mr. Miracle and give him the contract based off the capacity and the accountability level you can request from him. And you now made an operation saying that if someone should come and offer something that is, more, superior than what Mr. Miracle can give, then you would give it to the person at that point in time. Then, so it dawns on me, resolidified the idea of excellence over biases and excellence over sentiment. So that is the two thing I took from your section amongst all others. So from Mrs. Nodada, I learned
I
I've
think I
always
think she should be here. She should probably be here so that
oh, okay.
she's going to like jot that down. But let me say let me say mine from what I took from Mr. Okay,
Listen
good.
to
She's
me.
here. So
Okay. Oh, I think she's
so
back.
Miss Nodada,
I'm
Olu
back.
wanted to share his insights about what he learned from you. So I didn't want to just say that till you were here. So I'm going to say mine about Mr. Tolu and then Mr. Tommy, and then Olu would continue. So what I took from Mr. Tommy's section, I want to put that out is performance should be the only thing that should discriminate. And I think this is very big, very big,
Brilliant.
very big
So
for me.
brilliant.
Very big, especially in the context of Africa, especially in the context of West Africa as a whole. I mean, I think we're having a big problem. And having leaders like him who believe that, especially surrounded by, I mean, I understood the settings where he was coming from as a founder for a company that was leading up in the States with some other projects. And for once, I was imagining how was he managing this thing? How was he managing it? And then for him to say this, that performance should be the only thing that should discriminate. That's really big. So thank you so much, Mr. Tommy. So Mr. Olu, the floor is yours, and you're going to round up on our behalf. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Nodada, for the powerful section you have with us. It's really most insightful and impactful as well. So before you came, I was sharing what I learned from Mr. Toomey's section. So Mr. Miracle had me stop so that you could be here to hear from me directly what I learned and the value I got from your section. The most two one I got. So first one is knowing the why. I think that was the question that was asked when we were I think it was Mr. Miracle that asked the question as regards to entrepreneur, trying to shift their art away or shift their mind away whenever they get the money or they get the influence. So it dawns on me that we need to ask the genuine question of why, reason why we are doing everything we are doing, the major motive on why we are doing the business, the major motive on why we are building the organization. And I think Mr. Tommy also emphasized on the fact that money should not be the motive. I think that was exactly his word. Money should not be the motive. Money should just be like a reward system to what we have done. There should be another motive driving the force of what we are doing. So, and the second thing was as regards of the question that you answered when Mr. Tommy was talking about the culture affecting the quality of leadership in Africa. So I got from that part that we need a redefining of what leadership is in the African context without the influence of the Westerner. And that's really, really dawned on me that all of the things we think we do as leaders are mostly, influenced by the Western culture, not by the African context. And that is what I got from your section, or through the most two I got from all your section amongst all others. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olu.
Thank you so much. So we'll come to the end of the section and the end of the conference today. But we're going to be doing a physical public discourse outside after now. So I want to say thank you to our panelists and to our speakers who were not able to join but will be watching this. I want to say thank you to our panels that are here and also to our panelists who, the Nigerian network affected. I want to say thank you very much for trying and for making it possible to at least be here. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Bright, who is also watching as well too. but if we're making a video, we're going to post the video as well too. So Mr. Tommy, thank you so much for making this possible. In your tight schedule, you were still able to make this happen. And thank you so much, Mrs. Nondada, for making this as well possible. I'm really grateful. And for everyone who's watching right now on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, I want to say thank you. And for those who are going to watch in the nearest future to come, probably they want to go back to see, speakers that have spoken over the years. So I want to say thank you for coming back to watch this on this day you'll be choosing to watch it. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I hope
Thank you,
that one day
guys.
we're going to have a physical meeting.
Definitely. Before we
Thank you very
go,
much.
I have to pronounce my name
Yes,
for you
exactly
so
what
that
I
the
wanted to
rest
say.
so
Yes.
that when we come together physically, people know how to pronounce my name, okay? So, okay, so you have to click,
Yeah.
ne? In the Xhosa culture, we have a lot of clicks, right? So my name actually means, loosely translated, it just means glory. It means to be bright, something of, nobility that is very bright, that you can't hide. So it means it's pronounced Akamba, Akamba. So when you have time, guys, in your
Akamba.
private spaces, please practice Akamba.
Hmm.
Akamba.
Akamba.
Yes. As long as you can butcher my name as long as you're trying. As long as you're trying.
Hmm.
Mhm. All right. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Mr. Tommy.
guys.
Thank you, Miss Nodada,
Thank you.
and thank you, Mr. Miracle, for the privilege of doing this alongside with you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
Thank you
much.
so much,
So I'm going
guys.
I'm going
Take
to, I'm going to
care.
do I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this publicly. I would want to connect Mr. Tommy. Mr. Tommy is a tech founder, Zeno, and Miss Nodada is she's the founder of Better in Business, and she's all about businesses. So I would have to connect. I would, if you're okay with connecting both together, and then I know that okay,
Definitely.
at least we're able to. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay, it's none other. Bye. I'll see everyone
Bye,
later
guys.
for
Bye.
joining.